Hello, hello! Welcome to Draw Tip Tuesday. My name is Koosje Koenen and I love drawing. And in my sketchbook, I learn by doing. And well, I share my learnings here on this channel. So I'm really happy that you're here. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any of my weekly Draw Tip Tuesday videos. And just so you know, this free Draw Tip Tuesday video is brought to you by my patrons because they pay a small amount every month, and with that they make it possible that I do these videos and publish them for free every single week. So that's a little gift from one of my patrons just for you. And if you want to become part of the community that's going on my Patreon page, then you can just join. That would be awesome. I would love to see you there, and I will put the link below this video in the description. Now let's move on to today's drawing. Hello, that's what we're here for, right? I want to draw with these awesome crayons. Yes, crayons, just like the ones that we know from when we were small kids. And I will tell you, using these will actually give you back that feeling of playfulness and liveliness and fun that you remember from drawing as a kid. So I will show you what my favorite crayon is, which brand and why, and explain a little bit about how to use them. And especially I will show you how I use them in my sketchbook practice. I am a big fan of Neocolor crayons from Caran d'Ache. They come in two kinds, Neocolor 1 and Neocolor 2. The crayons come in these tins, but you can also buy them by the piece. And Neocolor 2 are water soluble, and that means that you can use them kind of like you could use watercolor pencils. Neocolor 1 is more like the basic crayon as you know it, only they are sort of buttery, and I really like the feeling, the soft feeling of the crayons on paper. You can see that I broke mine into pieces because I want to be able to bring many colors, but in a compact way. So I broke them, and now I have this little set that I can bring with me anywhere. Often I'll bring my crayons in a clear bag because then I can actually see which colors I want to grab. And then if you want to be able to sharpen them, bring a pencil sharpener as well. One with a container because otherwise it might be really messy. And I like using crayons in a way that it's not just the crayon working for me, but I like using them combined with other media in a mixed media kind of way. So I like combining them with watercolors. That's what we'll do today. I will show you some fun tricks to play with your crayons, create some more texture, and just have fun. And I will use this sketchbook that is a Stillman and Byrne sketchbook. Something I like about using crayons is that you can create textures in combination with watercolor. Because these are wax crayons, they resist water and they resist watercolor, and that can give you wonderful textures. So if I do this, for example, and I add a little bit of a light watercolor wash, look what happens. Isn't that exciting? I love that. So this way I can create shimmering on water, for example, when I use white. But I also love using it for layering when creating greenery or bushes. Maybe even add a little bit of fun texture with blue. Maybe there are some red flowers in there. And now, if I add a little bit of green on top with watercolor, that just brings so much fun and joyful texture. What I also see is that I just made the mistake of using kind of the same color. And then of course the crayon might resist the watercolor, but you still can't really see the effect. So that's something good to know. So instead I may do this, perhaps just be bold with my color and then also add an extra texture here. And yeah, let's add those flowers, why not? And now if I use that same wash, it gives a completely different effect. Hang on, I'll also show you what happens if I use a lighter color crayon. It gives so much texture, and this is of course a minuscule example, but I just want to show you that it's very versatile, and I can even play more with my watercolor by adding another layer, see what happens. So I would really like to invite you to see how far you can go. Play and try and have some fun with your crayons. You don't need to have these particular crayons because this works with the cheaper ones that you find in the supermarket as well. Now that this has dried, I actually also want to show you how much fun it can be to add on top of watercolor as well. Just like with the colored pencil on top of watercolor, I love layering my drawings this way. I can brighten things up. It really gives you so much space to play and have some fun. So this is Neocolor 1, and of course we can combine Neocolor 1 and watercolor with Neocolor 2. For example, here the paint is still wet, so if I use one of those water-soluble crayons, then I can actually really play some more on top. And here, let me play a little bit. I put some water down on the paper, and then on top use this water-soluble Neocolor 2 crayon. That is quite impossible with the non-soluble crayon. It doesn't do anything on top of water because it resists water. So these are fun things to play with, and I want to show you how I use this in my drawings. I found a photo that I will use for a reference to show you a little bit how you can use these. So I'm grabbing my watercolors, my Neocolors, and also my pen. And let's say we're out and about, we're urban sketching, and then I would probably start with pen. Just a quick outline of the building of this bridge will get me going and will get me grounded, and then I will feel more encouraged and a little bit more courageous actually to add color and play a little bit with texture. So as I am drawing, maybe I'll just ignore the fact there's a church in the background, the tower of a church, because to me that is not important for this drawing right now. And this is something that is also a tip. You can edit. If you have a view or if you are drawing from a photo from a reference, you don't have to draw everything. You decide what goes in and what stays out. So I'm basically drawing the outline of the bridge, slits there, and I'm not going to be very accurate. There's also a boat here with people on it. And I am sort of abbreviating and simply drawing some outlines for the bushes and the trees that are in the foreground, but also in the background. And then just a little bit of texture for the grass and also for the water, but of course I can use my crayons for the water in just a little bit. So I grab my white crayon and I look at the photo and see where I can get a little bit of shimmering in that water. And I'll do the same in the sky for clouds. And yes, you don't know exactly how it will work out when you do this, but that is part of the fun as well. To me, it always seems a little bit like magic when the texture appears as soon as you apply a wash of watercolor. And I keep going with my white crayon to create texture on the building. And I'll also add a little bit of yellow ochre there to indicate that these are bricks. More texture with white for the roofs. And because there's beautiful fall colors in this particular photo, I can keep going with that warm yellow ochre, add some light yellow as well. Adding some green, all kinds of textures that will have their effect as soon as they are combined with watercolor. So let's add watercolor. I am mixing a nice warm tone for the bridge. And you can see how effective it is that I used white crayon. The yellow ochre, again, has the same sort of tone as the warm brown that I mixed. So it doesn't really come up, it doesn't stand out. I made the same mistake as I did when I showed you the first example drawing shrubbery. I'm mixing a gray for the roofs. And I love how those playful patterns in white crayon pop up. Mixing green for the grass and for the trees. I'll mix a little bit of a brownish gray for the water, and look at that shimmering water now because I put down some of that white crayon before. And I can even darken it a little bit more, and look at how beautiful that contrasts. And with that contrast, suddenly the bridge looks a little bit pale. So I'm adding a more saturated brown warm layer on the brick building. And I keep going, layering my watercolors. And then one more thing, I need to color the sky. And now I can see how effective the white marks are that I made with the crayon. Some of the paint is still wet, so I'm grabbing a water-soluble crayon, Neocolor 2, and I'm adding a little bit of texture there. And I'm doing that with a few different colors, just really having fun. And all I want to do now is give a little bit more shading here and there. Even though the watercolor is still wet, I'm adding another layer to tone down the people in the boat and to darken below the bridge and give a little bit of shadow to the building and the trees as well. And that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you will try this. If you don't have crayons, just a little hint, you can also create that texture of a wax base that resists watercolor with a candle. Just use a candle and make marks with that. Just so you know. Next week I'll be back with another video and another tip and some inspiration. And if you need more inspiration, you know where to go. Go to my Patreon page or buy my book. I haven't mentioned it for a while, but I need to plug it because it's still really relevant. I will put the link below this video, and I will see you next week. Bye.